Welcome to Hoop Scripted, the place where we tell you what actually happened on the basketball court, not what the broadcast wanted you to see. And what happened at Barclays Center this weekend was one of the most talked about moments in early WNBA preseason history. Not because of a buzzer beater, not because of a last-second comeback, but because of raw, unfiltered, old-school basketball physicality that sent shockwaves through the entire league and broke social media in the process. Sophie Cunningham did not just have a good game. Sophie Cunningham reminded every single team in the WNBA exactly why they should think twice before putting their hands on Caitlin Clark. But before we get into what Cunningham did, we need to talk about what started it, because context is everything. And the mainstream broadcast glossed over the moment that lit the fuse. Let's go back to the fan footage, because that is where the real story lives. Early in the game, Sophie Cunningham is navigating the perimeter, normal basketball movement. And then Brianna Stewart, the face of the New York Liberty, the former MVP, does something that caught everyone's attention on the unedited footage. She steps directly into Cunningham's path. Now, a legal screen in basketball requires your feet to be set and your body to be stationary. What Stewart did was not that. She moved her feet outside the arc, shifted her upper body weight forward, and extended her arm away from her torso directly into Cunningham's chest area. Then, immediately threw both hands in the air, looking at the referee like nothing happened. Watch it in slow motion, and the biomechanics tell the story clearly. Her feet are moving, her body weight is launching forward. She is seeking the collision, not absorbing it. Now, reasonable people can debate the intent. Some will call it playoff-level physicality. Some will call it a non-basketball play. That debate is legitimate, and the WNBA community is having it right now across every platform. But here is what is not debatable. Sophie Cunningham absorbed that hit without flinching. She did not flop. She did not look at the referee. She did not throw her hands up searching for sympathy. She took the contact, kept her balance, and got back to work. That contrast alone tells you everything you need to know about who Sophie Cunningham is as a competitor. And what she did next is what broke the internet, because Sophie Cunningham understood immediately what the New York Liberty were trying to do. The Liberty came into this game knowing that they could not match Indiana's pace in transition. The Fever's speed off turnovers, the way they push before defenses can set, the way Clark and Mitchell and Billings run in rhythm before the opposing team can organize, it is genuinely difficult to contain when it is operating at full speed. So New York decided the answer was physicality. Make it physical before it becomes pace. Crowd Clark, hand checker, make her feel the contact on every possession. Make every catch uncomfortable. Make every drive something she has to think about instead of just react to. It was a deliberate, strategic decision, and you can see it clearly in the fan footage if you watch Clark specifically off the ball. Defenders crowding her space, hands on her as she navigates screens, physical contact that in some possessions went beyond what you would call standard defensive pressure. The referees were letting it go, and Sophie Cunningham saw all of it. What happened next was the sequence that went viral within hours and has been viewed millions of times since. Clark drives the lane. A Liberty defender closes in from her blind side, and Cunningham comes flying in from the weak side and sets a screen that the arena felt. She did not drift into the space. She did not sort of get in the way. She physically inserted her body between Caitlin Clark and the incoming defender with a precision and a force that made it absolutely clear this was intentional, purposeful, and completely within the rules of basketball. Feet set, body vertical, screen legal, and look at what the Liberty defender did in response. She threw both arms in the air and collapsed backward onto the floor. Full theatrical flop, selling the call with everything she had. Now go back and compare that to how Cunningham reacted when Stewart hit her in the chest earlier. Cunningham took real contact from a bigger player and stayed on her feet without a word. The Liberty defender felt a legal screen from a properly positioned body and went to the floor like she had been hit by a car. That contrast is what educated basketball fans grabbed onto immediately. That is what went nuclear on social media. Because basketball people know the difference between a player absorbing contact and a player performing contact. And the footage showed both in the same game in completely unambiguous terms. Now let's talk about the bigger picture here, because this is about more than one viral moment. Last season, Caitlin Clark spent her entire rookie year taking physical punishment that accumulated night after night. Veterans who understood how to play the edges of what referees would call used that knowledge consistently against her. The contact was rarely flagrant in any single instance, but the cumulative toll of being hit, grabbed, crowded, and physically tested on every possession over an extended stretch of games contributed to the soft tissue injuries that eventually took her off the floor. The quad, the ankle, the groin, 13 games. That is what last season became. And during that stretch, the player who consistently stepped up to match that intensity on Clark's behalf was Sophie Cunningham. Not by being dirty, not by retaliating in ways that crossed the line, but by doing what an enforcer does. By making it clear through legal, physical, hard-nosed basketball that there is a cost to playing recklessly against your teammate. Then Cunningham tore her MCL, and that protection disappeared. 9 months. 9 months of rehabilitation. 9 months of the specific kind of grinding, unglamorous work that happens in training rooms where nobody is watching and nobody is filming. The same exercises every day. The slow, incremental process of rebuilding trust in a knee that had been structurally torn and surgically repaired. Wondering whether the movement patterns that define your entire game, the cutting, the planting, the loading up to fire from three, wondering whether all of it would come back the way it was before. She signed a 1-year deal to come back to Indiana. She wanted to be here. She wanted to be the person standing next to Caitlin Clark when the season started. And on Saturday at Barclays Center, 9 months after that MCL tear, Sophie Cunningham walked onto the floor and played like she never left. 5 of 8 from the field, 13 points, a +8 in the box score, and 3 three-pointers that dropped clean off movement, off screens, off the exact cutting and planting motions that an MCL controls. Every one of those shots was its own answer to the question she had been carrying for 9 months. The knee held, the mechanics are back, the game is back, and the enforcer role? That was never in any doubt. What Cunningham brings to this Indiana Fever roster is something that is genuinely difficult to quantify in a box score, but is immediately obvious to anyone who understands how team basketball works at a high level. The screens she sets change the geometry of every offensive possession. When you know a hard screen is coming, you have to prepare differently for it. You have to communicate earlier, switch faster, fight through contact more aggressively. That preparation takes energy and attention. Energy and attention that you cannot simultaneously dedicate to taking away Caitlin Clark's pull-up 3 or jumping Kelsey Mitchell's driving lane. Cunningham creates space not just physically, but psychologically. Opposing defenders know what is coming when she sets up off the ball. They know the screen is going to be hard, and they know they have to be ready for it. That anticipation, that split second of extra cognitive load, is exactly when Clark catches the ball with a step of separation that she would not have had otherwise. And beyond the screens, there is the message her presence sends to every team drawing up a defensive game plan against Indiana. If your strategy involves getting physical with Caitlin Clark, if your approach is to crowd her and grab her and make her uncomfortable on every catch, you are going to have Sophie Cunningham matching that intensity on the very next possession. Legally, within the rules, but completely without hesitation. The deterrent effect of that reality is not a small thing. It changes calculations. It changes what opposing coaches are willing to call from the sideline. After the game was over and Indiana had won by 18 points, Cunningham posted a TikTok from her hotel room in New York. She was lip-syncing to "Here for the party," flexing on the camera, demanding dubs in the comments section. Pure, unfiltered joy from someone who spent 9 months not knowing if this moment was coming. That video went viral immediately, and it captured something real. Cunningham does not play through pain and grind through rehab to be composed about it afterward. She plays hard, and she celebrates hard, and she brings an energy to this team and to this league that is completely her own. Now let's talk about the business side of this, because the Indiana Fever front office needs to be paying attention. Sophie Cunningham is currently on a 1-year deal. 1 year. And what she is providing to this franchise right now is nowhere close to being reflected in a single-season contract. She is the cultural enforcer. She is the screen setter who changes how defenses prepare for Clark. She is the three-point shooter who stretches the floor and gives Indiana a legitimate secondary scoring threat from deep. She is the social media personality who brings her own audience and her own energy to a franchise that is already the most watched team in the league. If the Fever do not move on a multi-year extension, other franchises will come calling the moment the season ends. The Phoenix Mercury, the Las Vegas Aces, teams that are looking to add toughness, shooting, and culture in a single player. Teams that would make Cunningham a priority acquisition. And once she is gone, Indiana does not just lose a player. They lose a specific kind of player that is very difficult to replace because players who can shoot, screen, and enforce at this level while also being willing to sacrifice personal statistics for team outcomes do not come around very often. The front office built something real this offseason. The bench depth that produced 62 points against New York. The pace and space system that had the Liberty scrambling all night. The roster construction that allowed Indiana to win by Aaliyah Boston and Lexi Hull even suiting up. Cunningham is a foundational piece of why that construction works. Letting her walk would be one of the most short-sighted decisions this franchise could make. Every team on Indiana's schedule this season is going to see what Barclays Center saw on Saturday. They are going to see a player who is fully recovered, fully motivated, and fully committed to making sure that anyone who tries to disrupt Caitlin Clark's game has to reckon with her first. The enforcer is back, the knee held, the shots are falling, and the message to the rest of the WNBA could not have been delivered more clearly. Caitlin Clark has never been safer on a basketball court. Indiana's next preseason game is April 30th at home against the Dallas Wings. We will be covering every second of it right here on Hoop Scripted. Drop your predictions in the comments. Tell us what you think the Fever's ceiling is this season with a fully healthy Cunningham and Clark on the floor together. And if you are not subscribed yet, do it now, because this Indiana Fever season is going to give us moments worth talking about from opening night all the way to the finals. Hoop Scripted, we tell you what actually happened.